So just as you said a few minutes ago, Kerry, we have all this great experience. I certainly benefited in the same way that you explained with Martin, from having backup from the global team to help me execute projects. We had folks literally jump on a plane from the US and from Canada to come over to Ireland and help me with a project to get going. It's a lot of commitment by a lot of people to get us over that hump.
Welcome to Actualizing Success. In this podcast series, our in-house advisors discuss today's finance and technology topics with an emphasis on solutions that embrace tomorrow.
Hi, this is Kerry Wekelo with Actualize Consulting. I'm our COO, and I am passionate about our culture, not only in the US, but our other offices. And in the last few years, Actualize Consulting has formally expanded from being a US company to one having satellite offices in Canada, the UK, and Mexico. In this episode, we discuss the cultural and professional differences between countries and regions and the importance of connecting everyone through our company culture. The good news is that we have experience with managing remote teams, as our people can work from home and go to the client site as needed. We do promote teams getting together in person for working days, events, and conferences. We do a monthly virtual networking event to accommodate different time zones. We also have monthly all-hands calls. We have a new hire mentoring program and work to have mentors in other offices to help integrate fully into our actualized culture. We truly start integrating people into the firm from the recruiting process throughout their journey. The focus on our people first sets the tone that we bring everyone together in many ways to forge deep connections. We have been successful of bringing the teams together and infused our culture into all of our regions. Just as each person is unique, each country has certain traits to be mindful. And today we have Paul Baram and Martin Santiago, who lead our UK and Mexico offices today, to join us. And what I wanted to ask first is, our firm's culture has been successful and thrived over the last 20 years. And I personally believe we have continued to infuse that culture into our other offices as well. But I really wanted to get your opinion as we start this off, is why is it so important to understand the cultural aspects of each region? And maybe you can give us a few examples.
Thank you, Kerry. Nice to be part of this conversation. Looking forward to sharing some of these insights. So I guess I'll start by saying that although I am a Brit, I did live in the US for a long time. And in fact, that's my introduction to Actualize. I decided to go back home to the UK and then sort of join the Actualize family formally. One thing I noticed going back to the UK from having lived and worked in the US is different working styles in the UK. For instance, I think we can be a little bit more direct in how we deal with each other. There's a sort of general working culture of being able to sort of take somebody straight on if you disagree, and then know that without being sort of too facetious, take them out for a beer at the end of the day, talk about it over a pint, and show that there's no hard feelings. And that is not something that I was ever able to use as a management style, for instance, in the US. So maybe that's one place to start.
Yeah, no, and I actually love that about the UK, because that's my personality, is to kind of face challenges as they happen and right in the moment. That's actually one of our founding principles. So I tend to really resonate with that culture in the UK for sure.
If I could build on that, I think that's really key to me, and I think key to what we're trying to talk about today is that there is an overall actualized culture. And that comes first and foremost. What we're talking about today is how we sort of drive that overall culture while still respecting the nuances of how people in different regions work. So I think that's key. That part works very well, for instance, right? Directness is a UK working style, but it's an actualized corporate style, shall we say.
Martin, what about you? What do you think is really important to understand from a cultural difference?
Thank you, Kerry. I couldn't be agree more with Paul. I mean, we need to understand different cultures, especially here in the region in Latam, since we are Spanish-speaking people, we still have some differences, slight difference between each country. So we need to take into account those kind of differences in order to make good businesses with the people, and also to get involved in the culture of all those countries in order to make improvements and more revenue for the company. So, for example, here in Mexico, the people like to talk more and more when you are dealing with some business area, and they just go around the point and don't focus on that. So you need to spend a little bit more time with clients, trying to reach them, their objectives, how they are really planning to implement any improvement on the treasury side or finance side in the companies. So that's kind of important thing that you need to understand and take into account in order to do a good business and good relationship with all your clients, and also with the team here in Actualize in the region. Another example here in Mexico, and not only in Mexico, but in Latin America, since we are all Latins, we always want to say yes. I mean, it's kind of difficult for us to say no on some different things when you really don't know about any concept or any topic. You always say yes, and people has always something to tell about it, and all that's when you have to be focused with the people, with your clients, and also in order to reach your objectives, and also to reach the scope of the implementation. So it's very important here to understand it.
Right. No, and that was something that I learned very quickly when we first started our expansion in Mexico. I've been recruiting and giving offers for a really long time, and I typically can know if somebody's going to say yes or no, but because everybody kept saying yes, 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 I really had to pivot how I interacted with the recruits in Mexico. And what I do is I ask the same question like 20 different ways to really, but it does take more time. And to your point, Martin, we ended up even our hiring and how we're staffing projects, we're putting more time into that project management so we can spend the amount of time that our clients in Latin America need to make sure that they have the same client satisfaction. So it's definitely there's been a lot of learning over the last couple of years in both offices.
In Japan, you may know that people say "はい" a lot, and we translate that as yes. Actually, it doesn't translate to yes. It translates to I understand, which is not yes. And it took a long time for me to understand that when people were nodding and saying "はい," they weren't agreeing with me. They were just acknowledging the fact they'd heard the words that I'd spoken. So this idea, Kerry, of you having to ask a question 20 different ways to really reassure yourself that they yes meant yes really resonates with me. I had to do this a lot. You've got to ask people questions almost flip to the negative to get the positive answer to be sure that the yes really is a yes. So that really stuck in my mind. I think it's just a good point of knowing like really how to get not the answer you want to hear, but the actual right answer.
Yeah, and I think that's a good strategy anywhere you are, is to always listen to understand and make sure that you're not assuming anything, right? So as good consultants, we should all be asking things in different ways.
Yeah, I think that's one of the points I wanted to say, Kerry, is that we talked about cultural differences, but what I think is dealing with each other on our internal calls. It's not right to say that all our clients work in the same way, right? Not every British company is direct, and I'm sure not every Latin American company works the same way. What I think learning and being with each other does is makes us more empathetic and hopefully makes us better consultants more generally, right? Because we are more just appreciative of having these sort of different cultures within our own internal teams, right? So hopefully that plays into how we deal with our external clients.
Absolutely. And that's, why I said at the beginning of this podcast is that each person is unique, and that goes to in the regions as well. And, as a good consultant and as a good human, really understanding that, I think is really key. And I think that's been a big part of why we've been so successful, because we really do look at each person individually, each project, each client, everything, right? You really have to take your own unique spin on each one of those projects, for sure. So Martin, I wanted to kind of expand on that. So what do you think the biggest challenge has been so far in Latin America and that expansion?
Well, talking about that, I think that the main challenges that we have been facing during the last months, and of course for the following years, I believe, is that here in the region, the people and the companies are not really, let's say, educated on the treasury functions, the technology that can be implemented, and helping them with the treasury function to make the proper decisions, etc. So the main challenge is, I think, here is that to get people involved. I'm talking about our people and also for the clients, to get more involved on the technology side. I mean, we need to show them, the clients, the technology advantages, the digitalization, automation of activities that they can implement it on other different treasury procedures or tasks, like bank rationalizations and the cash pooling. There are a lot of companies here in the region that are kind of big companies here, but the team in treasury is not really aware of that, and they are still doing some work on Excel spreadsheets and some kind of manual work in there. So the challenge here, I would say that it's to show them the benefits and the advantages to implement some technologies or digitalization in their companies, so they can be reducing their time doing on all the transactional work and spend more time on the more strategic work that they need to do in their companies and make proper decisions on that. I believe that will be the main challenge here in the region.
I agree, and that's a huge opportunity for Actualize, because we are so great in the treasury space and being able to give our clients the most advice on how they can be best in class, right? So I think it's a good opportunity, and that's why one of our strategies has been to pair our U.S. teams with our Latin America team to really give that broader expertise, because other countries are a bit ahead of your region.
So just as you said a few minutes ago, Kerry, we have all this great experience. I certainly benefited in the same way that you explained with Martin, from having backup from the global team to help me execute projects. We had folks literally jump on a plane from the US and from Canada to come over to Ireland and help me with a project to get going. It's a lot of commitment by a lot of people to get us over that hump. But I look at it, I think we're on the other side of it. We're doing well, but that was certainly the kind of the big thing to get us going.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, to be able to, when I was thinking about our expansion and, how important our culture is to us as a firm, like, how do you get that culture into each of the different regions with, all the different nuances? And I do think it's really that cross-pollination of making sure that teams are working together. And so we are bringing the best practices to the table of, what is best for treasury functions. But I think, we have done a good job of that. And I'm glad that you feel like you were supported in that. For both of you guys, from integrating the teams together, what would you say is the number one thing that you think is important, not only that we do, but do you think is important for your region and bringing the teams together to really be supportive and act as that actualized family like we like to do?
I think one thing that we've just been committed to from day one are the amount of kind of team calls that we have. It's a challenge in a way, because you don't want to spend all your time in meetings. If you get that wrong, you can really sort of tune people out. But I think what we've got is exactly the right balance of work-related meetings to bring us all together, because we do operate as a kind of global capital markets and treasury practice in the areas that Martin and I work on. But then we also have the more kind of fun things where we do all participate. I think we use Zoom in our breakout sessions a lot, Kerry, and there's a lot of magic that I see going on with you and Teresa, but we do these breakout rooms. We're always paired up with different people, and that really, I think, keeps people connected. And it sort of just reinforces that point that we're all kind of working together.
Exactly. What about you, Martin? What do you think has helped to really bring that culture together?
The way that we can feel more integrated in our culture, I mean, the people that are remotely working on the satellite offices, is that to feel that we are more accountable for the company. As you mentioned, I mean, to get involved in the different practices like team building activities via online, like Zoom or Teams, etc. That's a lot, because that's the way that we feel more integrated with the rest of the teams in the regions. I mean, especially for Latin Americans, we need to have the touch, personal touch with us, every one of us, in order to feel more integrated with the rest of the team. So these kind of presentations are online, where we have workout sessions together, and we can share our thoughts, the way we see things here in the company, and how those things are seen in other different locations, the way the other people think things. It's very good for us here in the region. So that's a very good practice to be. Also, different corporate communications about the activities that the people can be registered, not only for work, but also some activities outside of working, like the organizations that are not profitable, to be part of it here, not only for the region, but also globally. That feeling that you are part of some bigger objective as a company is very well rewarded for us. So that's another thing that we like in order to feel more integrated as a team.
Yeah, and I was really happy how each of the teams really came together over the holidays to do different drives and stuff. Most of us all selected giving back to kids in need, and came up with the idea of having each office had their own elf. And I think that really brought us together as a team, and it was fun to see what everybody did with that as well. So yeah, I mean, I think it's important, we have this team of highly intelligent people that are experts in treasury, but then that softer side of having some fun, getting to know people, and then also giving back to our communities. I just really love seeing it happen in all of our different offices. And I really thank you both for your contributions and really making us shine as a whole globally. And thanks for being here today.
Thank you very much, Kerry, Martin. Really enjoyed the conversation as ever.
Thank you to you, Kerry, and Paul as well. It was really nice having you here and sharing some thoughts with all of you. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for today's episode of Actualizing Success. Make sure to visit us online at www.actualizeconsulting.com, where you can explore our service offerings. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, or your preferred platform. If you've enjoyed what we talked about today, please consider leaving a review and following us on LinkedIn. If you have any questions or would like to share your opinions with us, please send us a note at podcast@actualizeconsulting.com. We look forward to hearing from you.